Okay, so I have my template cut out for my screen print. Now remember, if you are using letters, when you are looking at the top part of the contact paper, the plastic side, your words should be backwards. If they are not, then you forgot to reverse them and you'll need to redo this template. But if you are using words and they are backwards while the plastic side is up, you are ready to attach this part of your screen print to the screen. So we're using embroidery hoops, remember, stretched with screen. And what I'm going to do is remove that paper and then attach this contact paper to my screen. Now before I do that though, I want to put some registration marks on to my template here. So what I did was, in the design that I traced from, I measured out the halfway point both from top to bottom and left to right. So I'm going to line up my template to my design again. And I'm going to mark those halfway points. So let me find my marker. And what this will do is it will help me line up my design when I go to print it. So I designed my design to be about 7 inches in size. My hoop I'm using is over 8. So I wanted to make sure that I had enough room to move my squeegee within that framework. And I'm also going to mark my corners here. So I'm marking my halfway points and my corners. And again, this is just going to help us a little bit later in the printing process. So now that I have that, I'm going to now attach this to my screen. So what I do is I flip my contact paper over so that the plastic side is down, and then I get a corner of my paper started. And sometimes this can be difficult, other times it can be very easy. And once I have that, then I'm going to start peeling off my paper. So I want to try to roll it back. I don't want it to fold because I don't want it to cause any undue creases in my contact paper. And I just want to be careful as I go around my letters. You'll notice that I will peel this paper from multiple directions if necessary, because again, I don't want to stretch out my design that I just spent time cutting out. So once I have that, then I lay it down, and I'm going to put my screen over top of this. So I take my screen, and I want it to be as centered as possible. I lay my screen down on my template, and then I start around the letters, and I start pressing that screen down onto the contact paper. And then I work my way to the outer edges. And that's how you attach the screen. Now my hoop is a little bit smaller on the corners, so those I am going to end up cutting, but sometimes you have a larger hoop that those corners will still show, but I still have my center points here that will help me line up my design in a few minutes when I go to print. So I'm going to just take a pair of scissors and I just gently lift up my corners and trim those off. And then my next step is to make sure that the rest of the screen is not going to allow any ink through. So as you can see here, there is some space here in which this did not cover. So I'm just going to simply take some masking tape, tear off some pieces, and I'm going to overlap on my stencil and seal off that screen. And this is just to ensure that if you accidentally run the squeegee over your design too far, that none of the ink is going to leak out of these edges. So you want to make sure you get those all the way around. And I apply tape until I hit the framework of my embroidery hoop. So I'm going to finish up taping this off, and then we'll look at test printing. So I have that taped. I'm going to trim up my tape pieces, and then I do fold a lot of them down around the frame. Again, it just kind of helps secure things on, but I don't need all of this tape wrapped down around the frame. Okay, then I just fold the rest down around the edges. and this is ready to print.